Listen, with global uncertainty looming, your savings and retirement plans are under siege. But there's one asset that has stood the test of time: gold. Unlock the peace of mind that comes with owning gold, the ultimate safe haven. And if precious metals are new to you, Noble Gold Investments will hold your hand through the whole process. They have a team of experts who will guide you every step of the way to safety. Thousands of investors have sheltered their retirement savings with Noble Gold Investments. With gold at an all-time high and looking to climb further, it's the perfect time to get in. Open a Noble Gold Investments IRA and secure your future with a free gold bullion coin. Act now before it's too late. Call 877-646-5347 and claim your free coin before it's gone, or visit noblegoldinvestments.com now. noblegoldinvestments.com, the gold company I trust.
Hey, Inspire Tribe, my fellow freedom lovers. Jean Nolan here. Thank you so much for tuning in to another inspired live stream here. We're healthy, we're wealthy, we're whole, we're free. That's the mantra of the inspired live stream. And my friends, it's a pretty big week. You know what's happening at Davos. The World Economic Forum is coming together, and there's a lot of energy of fear. That's what people on the ground are talking about. And we're going to let you know a little bit and show you some clips of what's happening at Davos. Let me welcome you in the live chat. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. The Awakened Avocado, I love that. Pure Water is here. The Awakening Enthusiast. Gerald, good to see you. Poppy, Miriam, Sylvia, Sarah, wonderful. Thank you all so much. All righty. Before we talk about what happened on Monday, the world literally changed on Monday, and the stage was set for what is going to unfold over this year. So that's going to be very interesting. But for now, let's look into Davos, what is going on there, and what kind of the messaging is from over there.
Disease X is a placeholder for unknown disease. Although COVID came immediately, we were preparing for COVID-like disease. You may even call COVID as the first disease X, and it may happen again.
The British government has unveiled a new vaccine research facility where scientists are working to prevent future pandemics. It's located at Porton Down, a high-security research facility best known for its work on chemical warfare. Experts are preparing for what is known as Disease X, or the next pandemic virus.
The delicate task of protecting the nation's health. Inside these purpose-built labs, more than 200 scientists working for the UK Health Security Agency are helping to develop and test vaccines against a range of diseases. It's vital work to keep us all safe. Changes to climate and the way we live mean viruses like this one could find a way to the UK. But equally, the next pandemic could be caused by a virus that has yet to be identified, what experts call Disease X.
I mean, ecocide as a word is becoming better known around the world, and the concept is generally mass damage and destruction of nature.
They fly private jets to this private airstrip about an hour and a half, 15 minutes away from Davos, and then many of them take a helicopter from here for that last leg of the journey. God forbid they share the highway with the peasants.
Is one of the issues that sort of pervades all of this discussion is that we have a kind of cultural, very ingrained habit of not taking damage to nature as seriously as we take damage to people and property.
There's planes coming and going literally every 10 minutes.
We're developing through technology an ability for consumers to measure their own carbon footprint. What does that mean? Where are they traveling? How are they traveling?
There's planes coming and going literally every 10 minutes.
What are they eating? What are they consuming on the platform? So, individual carbon footprint tracker. This is something that we're working on.
One of the most crucial intervention points is how we surface authentic, trusted sources of information. If you're a search engine or a social media platform, I think it is your duty to help surface the trusted sources of information. But we spend a lot of time with election officials helping them understand how to navigate this new normal and how to boost the trusted place to go to for your polling information. One piece of research that my organization did looked at the domains that election officials were using. Were they using a trusted.gov domain or something like springfieldvotes.com? Thankfully, the Biden administration is focused on this as one of their areas to prioritize. How do we shift election officials over to trusted domains, those trusted pathways, so that they can be putting out this authoritative information and have an anchor point for reporters to turn to and the tech companies to turn to make sure that good information is getting out there? There are important lessons that we learned after 2016. Social media companies learned about how you track mis and disinformation campaigns, what coordinated inauthentic activity looks like on a network, how you put breaks in, how when a rumor is flying, you get people to check whether or not, have you read this article before you forward it, fact-checking programs. That architecture, it hasn't been a silver bullet by a long shot, but at least that architecture has been in place. And there's an entire academic field now that studies this and analyzes what interventions might look like. We have to make sure that those interventions are still in place this year.
The technology now is, and digital technologies mainly have an analytical power. Now we go into a predictive power, and we have seen the first examples, and your company very much involved into it. But then the next step could be to go into a prescriptive mode, which means you do not even have to have elections anymore, because you can already predict, and afterwards you can say, why do we need elections? Because we know what the result will be.
You can't make that shit up. We can, he said, prescriptive. We can prescribe what's going to happen. We don't need an election. We just trust the .gov websites that tell us what exact information we should be consuming, and the journalists can take their cues from the .gov websites and the big tech companies. Well, yeah, this is a very new concept, and no authoritarian dictator-like government in history has ever thought about monopolizing information and how it reaches the people. Very new in history. Of course, this is what authoritarians always do. This is what psychopaths always do. They want to make sure that you receive the information that they want you to receive. And so a trusted.gov will become a certificate. It will become that's what they want to do. It will become a certificate that tells you, oh, it's trusted. The government approved this piece of information, and hence now it can go out and be distributed through private media companies that listen to the government. So, but let's look at Davos from a bigger picture. Disease X, okay? Disease X is in everybody's focus right now. And apparently, through some time travel intervention, Disease X apparently was already, the term was already coined in 2017. And now looking back, a lot of the major organizations were apparently already talking about Disease X. I simply don't remember it. In all my research and all our research that we did around COVID and everything that's connected to it, Disease X as a concept didn't really come up. Now it's here. Now everybody's talking about it. But what is that concept really, and why is it here now? Well, it is interesting that how the timing with this works. I believe Disease X is a term that describes much, much more. It's a potential, right? It's a potential to use a plethora of tools, and it is directly connected to the World Health Assembly, the meeting that the World Health Organization and its 196 member nations are going to have at the end of May of this year, where if everything goes according to their plan, the more than 300 amendments to the international health regulations will be passed, and the new pandemic treaty will be sealed. So that's what they want to do. And here's the precursor is create all this nebulous but fear-inducing information around a Disease X that, according to them, does not exist yet, but they're already perfectly prepared, and they kind of have the vaccine going already almost, but it doesn't exist yet. But could Disease X also be something else and not a viral pandemic? Could it be a zombie apocalypse? I don't know. Could it be a climate-related disease? Could it be a mental disease? I think we need to look at the messaging a little broader, and that's how they're, I think, putting this up. However, I will tell you this, as they're talking about disinformation and misinformation about climate change, about disease X, about AI, these things at Davos, do you know what, according to the people on the ground that are really paying attention, what's really in their minds? What has happened and began on Monday in Iowa? And we'll talk about this, and we'll continue to talk about this moving forward, because it is an election year. So the focus is very much going to be on the primaries and then on the general campaign. And so we will talk about the candidates. We will talk about Trump. And here's what I want to do. Perhaps we can take the emotions out of it. Perhaps we can take the crap out of it and stick to the facts that we can verify. So on Monday, in the Republican primaries, Trump won 98 out of 99 counties in Iowa, and the one county he didn't win, which is Johnson County, he lost by a single vote. So that's within the margin of error. That is historic in so many ways that it's not even funny anymore. The biggest margin ever by more than double. Bob Dole in 1988 won Iowa with a 13% lead. Bush came in third, who became the candidate that year. And so that was the biggest win up until Monday, when Trump won by a 30% margin over DeSantis and the rest of the field. So this is such a tectonic shift. And where we find the signal, not the noise around all of this, is actually in Davos. And there was a little interview with Jamie Dimon, and I want to thank the War Room over there, Steve Bannon's War Room, because they found that little clip of Jamie Dimon, who's the CEO and board of the chairman of the board of JP Morgan. And Jamie Dimon said, basically leaned fully into Trump and MAGA, and kind of scolded the media and the Democrats for speaking about the MAGA voters, the Trump voters, and Trump in the way they do. Fully leaned into him. Now, JP Morgan is managing a portfolio of over $3 trillion. There is a signal when the CEO and chairman of the board leans into a candidate like that. So here's what I'm thinking is, and we have to understand one thing, no matter what you think, again, what you think about Trump, whether he is fully controlled, a deep state player, it doesn't really matter what you think about Trump. Here's what I know from my personal conversations and the experiences that I've had with people. They fear him. Everybody fears him because he's a wild card. Because even if he is in ways controlled, what he says, where he says this, and when he says this is very much uncontrollable. And that's because of his personality, by the way. And these things are human. And those are things that a lot of people don't take into account, is that there are a lot of uncertainties. So for those who think that Trump is an ideal hero for the anti-system people, actually he isn't. An ideal hero would be much more controllable. So here's a wild card. Good or bad, he's a wild card. So they're doing two things. I think the big players within the establishment are leaning in and are rebuilding the bridges they all burned, because they know a second term will be very different from a first term. And if that doesn't work, then all the other tools in the box will be deployed or can be deployed. However, you know how many people talk about disease X? You know how many people are realizing that this is just the same fear-mongering, the same propaganda all over again? And people are not having it anymore. There is a section of the population that will simply follow blindly. And you can't help that. They will put on the masks whenever they're told. They don't have to have a valid reason. They're just telling you it's for your safety. Here you go. But then there is an ever-growing critical section of the population that simply, they can feel something is so off, and they're not buying the bullshit. It's used up. It's used up, and it's getting so ironic in your face. The laboratory in Great Britain, according to the very credible BBC, that is working on countermeasures for the new unknown disease X, is best known for its work in chemical warfare. Are you getting the signals that are being out there? Why would they even mention that? There's a reason why they mention it, why they put it in there. There's a reason, my friends. There is information packaged within information and information. And if we're adults, and if we look at it, and if we take the emotions out, we can find a lot more. For me, everything that is currently being played out in the media and what we're seeing from Davos is extremely positive for our movement, which is the movement for freedom. There is no other agenda. There's no hidden agenda, or it's the movement for freedom. That's the greatest alliance in human history, is the alliance for freedom. It's just one thing, that's freedom, no strings attached. And this is what we're seeing. Everything is a reaction to our movement, and it's their fear. They're scared. They're simply scared because we're becoming, as a movement, an uncontrollable force. And that they can't live with that. Listen to this. Here we have Mr. Rachel Maddow, one of the most I can't even get myself to describe Rachel Maddow properly, but a host on MSNBC for many years. I didn't go through the trouble of putting a compilation together of all the mis and disinformation that was spread there, but I'll give you this clip here. Rachel Maddow on Monday night after the Trump win. And again, this is not about whether you support or don't support. It's not about this at all. Just listen to what he is saying, she is saying, I don't know, and then think about it. Then really think about it.
I'm sorry, I just have to do a little bit of business just for a second. At this point in the evening, the projected winner of the Iowa caucuses has just started giving his victory speech. We will keep an eye on that as it happens. We will let you know if there's any news made in that speech, if there's anything noteworthy, something substantive and important. The reason I'm saying this is, of course, there is a reason that we and other news organizations have generally stopped giving an unfiltered live platform to remarks by former President Trump. It is not out of spite. It is not a decision that we relish. It is a decision that we regularly revisit. And honestly, earnestly, it is not an easy decision, but there is a cost to us as a news organization of knowingly broadcasting untrue things. That is a fundamental truth of our business and who we are. And so his remarks tonight will not air here live. We will monitor them and let you know about any news that he makes.
Okay. Think about this. Really think about it. Remember that clip a little earlier from that lady at the World Economic Forum that says trusted sources, and the trusted sources basically determine what is truthful information, and then big tech and the media take their cues from them. This is this principle in action. You have a former president that is running for re-election that is by far, in historic ways, leading the pack, and you're not going to broadcast as a news media organization this speech, which is a historic speech because it's a historic win. Whether you like that or not, it does not matter whatsoever. It shouldn't matter. This is history in the making, and you're not going to air the speech, and you're telling your viewers why? Because we can't trust you that you will be able to separate truth from fiction in the speech, so we will monitor it for you, and we will filter out anything that's newsworthy. Think about it. Really think about it. Think about it long and hard, as long as you need to. What they're telling you, openly telling you, and how they view themselves. We are the ones who will determine what you can and cannot see. But they're talking about, again, the #1 polling candidate in the nation for the highest office in the nation. This is insane. This is literally insanity. And of course, we've seen this since, 2020, the least, when He was kicked off of the platforms. And once again, I didn't even watch that speech. I was really not that interested. I pretty much know what's in that speech. It's not about that. It's about having this insane psychopathic trait that they think they're doing they're doing something great for the people. And this is what people are beginning really now to realize. Because hold on, what's all this talk about all the other candidates that, yes, sure, go and give them some attention, but how do you justify giving all this attention to people who are obviously not able to even get within spitting distance of the leading candidate? Now, again, you might love it, you might hate it, it doesn't matter, but that's the reality of things. And so this year is going to be exponentially crazy. We told you, yes, because it's an election year. Yes, because the Great Awakening is getting deeper and deeper. Yes, because the AI tools that have been unleashed and that have been given to the general public are only making things more nebulous. Because when before there were fewer people that had access to these tools, now you and I can go and create a fake video of any candidate, and it's almost impossible to see that. And we can do it within an hour or less by using almost entirely free tools. And this is scary to think, because it so confuses the information sphere. And this is why we have been saying there is no tool currently on the internet, no technical tool that can really help you distinguish fact from fiction. What you do have within you is a tool that is connection to spirit. It's divine intuition. It's your true north compass. And when you connect with that, then you can feel when something is off, and you can feel when something is truthful. And that's the only thing you have at your disposal. And this year is going to put that to the test. It's going to drive people half insane. And that's part of the agenda too. You want all this noise, you want all this distraction. And what we're saying is you have to keep your focus on the things that matter to you. And you have to stay focused on your connection with the creator, and then really drown out the noise and focus on the things that really matter. And part of what we want to do, what our inspiration is to bring some clarity into the noise. Is it really, are these people that are meeting at Davos, are they really as powerful as they think they are? And are they really as powerful as some of you might think they are? I would say that they're not, and they're feeling it. And I would say that they're seeing that it's getting worse and worse and worse. They're realizing the hypocrisy that they're preaching. They're realizing that the people are realizing. All in all, we have been, by doing what we all do best, by focusing on becoming the best possible version of ourselves and calling out truth, no matter which way it swings, we've really put the focus on the right things. And this is eating away at their empire, and it's eating away every single day. And we just need to keep at it, my friends. And I want to give you a little bit of inspiration. It's been over a week now. It's been almost 10 days since the German protests started. And again, the German protests on the surface are about tax hikes for farmers and truckers, but that's just the last, that was the last drop that made the bucket just full. So this is just the last thing. It's about social reengineering. It's about horrific lying governments. It's about the administration putting the Germans first and putting everybody else, putting the Germans last and putting everybody else first. It's about them basically turning Germany into an explosive, uncontrollable mix of cultures that had no time to assimilate to each other. It's about all the protest actually is about all the right things, all the things that we also talk about. And I really want to give a lot of credit to the German farmers, their organizational skills, their communication skills, how they have kept this peaceful, how they have already ahead of time warned of agent provocateurs that are always sent in. There's always these nefarious agencies that send out people that pretend to be part of the crowd, and they start smashing up things. And we can smell them from a mile away. You know what they look like. and they're really doing a good job at keeping this super peaceful and inspiring. So let me show you this clip here. Let's enjoy some of the images from Germany from the last few days. Oh, my friends, this is always almost puts tears in my eyes. I was putting this together last night, and it's just absolutely beautiful to see all the brothers and sisters coming together, and you can feel the spirit. And this is what this is all about, my friends. There's this truth that there's strength in numbers, and like some people pointed out in the live chat, solidarity. All of this naturally is true. When we show up, when two or more gather, you know what happens. But it's also this shift from petitioning, this shift from asking, this shift from pleading to understanding, understanding really, that when we look into the mirror, we see the most powerful source of change in our lives connected to the creator. Naturally, we're co-creators, but it has to be that person in the mirror that makes these decisions and says, I will not be a victim any longer. I'm not willing to participate in my own enslavement any longer. And in that moment, when you make that choice, it's already game over for oppressors. Oppressors live off the fear and off the victim mentality and off people thinking they're smaller than they truly are. And these images, they portray the exact opposite. It's people coming together, it's people standing up, and you can feel the love. There's no violence there. There's no just frustration. There's love there. Love for culture, for history, for their way of life and the way they want to live it. Because who the hell is going to tell them they can't do that, right? And this is a beautiful contagion, the positive contagion that should and is spreading all over the world, because there's way more peaceful, beautiful protests. And so while people think that these protests are mainly aimed at creating pressure for the government to step down, the more important thing that is happening is that all the others around them are seeing how many are standing up. And what do? They certainly get permission to join. They certainly get permission to say, oh yeah, I've been thinking that too. Oh no, I'm not having this anymore. And now it's a little easier because there's already millions out there doing it. And this is why we will not stop showing these things and talking about these things. This is what, in this way, the truckers started. The truckers in Canada started this. They created a new wave of inspiration for many, many, many millions of people around the world. And here we are. And we're doing it, my friends. So whatever horror scenario that you might have bought into, I encourage you to release it from your mind and envision that we are together creating the best possible conditions for the human spirit to awaken and for consciousness to rise, because that is what we're looking to do here. Creating the best conditions for the human spirit to awaken and for consciousness to rise. The effects of that are still unknown because we've not experienced it in that way. And I believe we will see some quantum leaps in both directions for the rest of the year. Things are going to get more crazy in the media. And for a section of the population, it's going to be almost, it's going to drive them insane. And for another section, it's going to be exponentially better and better and better and better. And we're just inviting people in. Join us on this. This is about the human spirit. It's about the true spirit within. That's what changes things. The person in the mirror is the person we need to look at every day. Send love to that person and know it's the source of positive change. My friends, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for being with us again. We love you. We appreciate you. We'll be back with you again very, very soon.